Hello, people of Zion. What's a person to do when their government and private banks slowly drive their economy into the ground? Well, get fed up, decide that they're mad as hell and not gonna take it anymore, and move to break up the whole system and create something new. And this is exactly what happened when the US economy was in the dumps in 1910, and Senator Nelson Aldrich sent his private railroad car to the New Jersey Railroad station for him and 6 other men to steal away to the private club in Georgia's Jekyll Island. For the ride down, these men used first names only or code names, as they were under strict orders to not let any of the workers around them know their true identity, lest it be leaked to the press. They were told to arrive one by one and not be seen together, to not dine together, to act like they didn't even know each other. They had to avoid reporters, as they were well-known men. And when asked about the nature of their trip, if anybody inquired, to say that they were just doing something like hunting. Other than Senator Aldrich, who was a business associate of J.P. Morgan and father-in-law to John D. Rockefeller Jr., these men included Abraham Pyatt Andrew, who was prominent in banking circles, and Frank Vanderlip, president of the National City Bank of New York, which was the largest and most powerful bank in the country. He was there representing the financial interests of William Rockefeller and the international investment firm Kuhn, Loeb & Co. Henry Davidson, Charles Norton, Benjamin Strong, and last but certainly not least, Paul Warburg, who some of you guys might just know as Daddy. As being one of the wealthiest men in the country, he was the inspiration behind Little Orphan Annie's Daddy Warbucks. Warburg was perhaps the most important man in the room, given his knowledge of Europe's central banking system. He was born in Germany, a naturalized American citizen. He was there representing the financial interests of the Rothschild banking dynasty in England and France, and brother to Max Warburg, who was the head of the Warburg Banking Consortium in Germany and the Netherlands. These men represented 1/4 of the entire world's wealth. So if there was ever a time to do some $5 wrench attacks, this was it. This was it. And if you're wondering what all the privacy was about, as Frank Vanderlip put it, years later when the goal of the meeting was achieved and they finally confessed to it even taking place and spoke openly about it, if it had been exposed publicly that our particular group had gotten together and written a banking bill, it would have no chance whatsoever of passage by Congress. In other words, Senator Aldrich, who had been called upon to help fix the banking system, had called upon the banks to fix that system. And no one would accept a proposal on how to break up and fix the banking system by the very banking institutions that made up that system. You're not going to hire somebody who robbed you a bunch of times to design and install your security system. All right, it's just not going to happen. It's stupid. All right, so at this private meeting on Jekyll Island, these men came up with a solution that, unsurprisingly to some, involved consolidating their banking power and merging with the government to form a central banking system. But they couldn't call it that because the Europeans had that, and Americans don't like to be like Europeans, okay? That's why they left. So they called it a Federal Reserve System. It's beautiful, all right? Federal, it sounds like a government entity, not just like some private banks or whatever. Reserve, there's some money somewhere. System, the power is diffused now, almost like decentralization. And then they had to do a little bit more finessing to get it through. The first draft of the bill voted down. Senator Aldrich wanted his name on the bill. Warburg was like, dude, you're a Republican. You're like synonymous with big business. Stop it. And Aldrich was like, I think they like me. Okay, like why would they put me in charge? Fiat to the freaking moon. And it didn't work. Yeah, it got voted down. They were like, no, you're a Republican. And you're kind of synonymous with big banks. For the second draft, they conjugated some words, moved some adjectives around, all that kind of stuff. You know, threw in some clauses that, you know, made it seem like they were a little bit more for actually looking out for the public's best interest, with Warburg as showing them that, guys, we'll fix it later. You know, we just got to get it passed now. They grabbed some Democrats, Representative Carter Glass and Senator Robert Owen, as Democrats are perceived to represent the common man or average worker. And then they had them put their name on the bill. And then they ran around and gave speeches and did interviews with the press and things like that, really just slamming this bill that they wrote. You know, they were like, this is awful for the banks. This is going to ruin the economy. It's bad for the country. Like, this is so horrible. And the average worker, like, oh my God, if the banks don't like it, this has got to be some good stuff. So with them publicly condemning this bill and privately financing support for it, they were able to get the support of the American public, get the bill passed through Congress, the president to sign it, and create a new financial system. The same financial system that many are desperately trying to escape today. An increasing number of people are looking at cryptocurrency to help free them from this system and safeguard their capital, as well as increase it. And I believe that it can offer the financial independence and protection and prosperity that people long for. But in order to show you how to achieve financial freedom with cryptocurrency, you're going to need to follow me a little further down the rabbit hole to see how crypto's true value is achieved so that you can ultimately unlock it. All right, you ready? Let's do it. Welcome back, the Oracle from the blockchain here, and happy to help guide you through the golden crypto country. Welcome to the digital age. The U.S. Government Department of Defense's ARPANET has led to the creation of the internet. And our friends in California, where this Oracle was made, are busy creating tools and products for it, informing companies like Atari, Apple, and Oracle. And while all this is great, there are some in the no-cal tech community that are becoming increasingly concerned that the most basic of our rights are getting lost in the creation of certain information technologies. They then seek to create some tech that will preserve our privacy and security from things like government control and corporate control over our information or data with the help of cryptography, which is a science that allows you to have an A and B conversation or interaction where someone else has to see their way out. And no, the protection of privacy rights isn't just about having something to hide. This is about, God forbid, if you ever come to a point where you disagree with what the government is doing, that you are free to still say so and meet with others who feel the same to affect change. This is how you keep the power with the people. Believe it or not, when governments no longer fear the people, they do have a history of doing things like putting their citizens in jails and camps or having them blacklisted and things like that if they don't agree with all of their ideology or shown sympathy towards opposing ideology. If you're America, the fact that you're even able to watch this video, okay, is due to your forefathers secretly using aliases in some of their writings and getting past their governments to create a country where there is privacy and freedom of speech and things like that. But I digress. Back to Silicon Valley. When some techies sought to use cryptography to make domination by any central figure tougher, the government did that thing that basketball player who knocks balls out of people's hand does, and they went, no, 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 no. If you're not doing that for us, you can't be doing that for anybody, all right? No. They made it illegal to meet or discuss it. David Chaum, a brave cryptographer, then risked his freedom to cleverly find a way to legalize the open research and development of cryptography. And that made way for some techies known as cypherpunks to then work on creating tech that will protect both our privacy and security. As the cypherpunks worked, data quickly took over as the most valuable commodity in the world. To businesses and individuals seeking increased profits and or influence, it's a way to gain insight into the mindset and habits of consumers and the inner workings of systems and things like that so that they can be more strategic in their approach to getting the results that they want. And when it comes to governments, it's not just a way to keep track of the bad guys, but a way to know how all their citizens think and feel so that they can better strategize when determining what they think and feel. All right, you know, things would go a lot smoother when campaigning and legislating and all that kind of stuff if you thought that that thought that you have in your mind was a self-derived thought, was your thought, and not one given to you by a regime. In the new gold rush out west that is the acquisition for more data, Silicon Valley produced what is now often referred to as the frightful five in Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft. A once decentralized internet was now dominated by a handful of companies that had gobbled up enough data on you to own both you and your grandbabies through entities like search engines, Google Maps, Waze, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp, publishing companies, cloud storage companies that make it so even when you're using Netflix or Twitter, you're still using Amazon or Google. App making companies that require developers to use Apple App Store or Google Play Store if they want anyone to see their app. And advertising companies that once again route you through the frightful five if you want anyone to see your product. Leading the way in tech that is also deemed critical to the next wave in artificial intelligence and self-driving cars and health and drone technology and virtual reality. And y'all need to get a room relationship with the government that has caused industry insiders to refer to them as NSA West. It is not hard to see why some of their classmates wanted to ensure that people could still live in a world where they had at least some control over their identity if they so chose. And fortunately for those of us desiring that, these were not all the kids at the bottom of the class. Insert Bitcoin. As privacy networks in the form of things like Tor and peer-to-peer encrypted messaging were developed, since money ran the world, cypherpunks also worked on creating a private digital currency that could interact with these networks. Otherwise, as soon as anyone pulled out their credit card, all security would be lost. Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin was the evolution of cryptocurrency up until that point, building on earlier versions from guys like David Chaum and Nick Szabo and Wade Dye, and proof of work protocols from the likes of Hal Finney and Adam Back, to name a popular few, with the addition of Satoshi's solution to the double spending problem. This new peer-to-peer electronic cash system was embraced for its ability to help safeguard privacy and provide an alternative to the current banking system. And the more people got fed up, no pun intended, with the current banking system, the more attracted they were to Bitcoin. However, the more people used Bitcoin, its 1 megabyte block size made transactions slower and slower and more expensive, causing many in the community to think that it was time to increase the block size. Introduce what is now known as the block size war, or the civil war within Bitcoin, in 2016. Here, many wanted to stick to Satoshi's white paper language, as well as his later claim on Bitcoin Talk that he would increase the block size as use grew to allow Bitcoin to operate more like a cash system. And the core developer he left in charge, Gavin Anderson, as well as many miners, also supported that change. But all is fair in love and war. And we know who won that war. I'm gonna let you guys study the war yourselves, but when you do, you're going to be able to see that there were certain institutions that worked diligently to see that Bitcoin remained booty as a cash system. And there will always be debate around certain details of history. But fortunately, we can always learn something from the present day observable facts. Today, Bitcoin is still slow and expensive to transfer, but thanks to companies like Blockstream, a for-profit company co-founded in 2014 by Bitcoin contributor Adam Back, we now have solutions to fix the system. Blockstream's products are designed to relieve stress on the Bitcoin network by conducting transactions off-chain. Here, they sell overlying networks, which are not blockchains, to enterprises in exchange for fees that would otherwise have gone to miners. So now a protocol that originally required no middleman or trust from an outside party will now not only operate similarly in that way to the current banking system that it was created to offer an alternative to, but given who's funded Blockstream, will be partnered with them. Some of Blockstream's publicized funding has come from major financial institutions like the Bilderberg Group by way of AXA Insurance and Digital Currency Group, who receives funding from MasterCard and also has a board member who sat on the Federal Reserve Bank of New York during a funding round of Blockstream before stepping down from the Fed board in early 2021. By now, you might be feeling a little bit of deja vu when it comes to banks openly bad-mouthing systems that they're privately behind in funding. All right, in a virtual world, virtual currency was inevitable, and in a central banking system where the banks are partnered with the government, a central bank digital currency was inevitable. Given the data it would be able to obtain on its citizens, as well as instant access to their funds, which not only provide a means of self-support, but independence from government control, a cashless society has always been a government's wet dream, as evidenced by the NSA's early work on cryptocurrency. As you can see with Bitcoin, and I only use Bitcoin here as an example of practices that are increasing in popularity in the community, whether institutional adoption is good for crypto can literally be determined by the flip of a coin. Now, to the question of the hour. Given all that is outside of your control, how do you, people of Zion, use cryptocurrency to create financial freedom? Well, given the fact that crypto's adoption is still largely affected by its fiat alternative, I believe that its use is still relevant to its value. So first you have to tap into what makes and has made crypto valuable in the first place. Crypto is a tool to protect rights. And what made Bitcoin so valuable was not just its supply cap, as many things could be made with that feature, but the fact that people were using it in privacy networks to protect their privacy. This technology was designed to help change the way you can interact and communicate with others, not merely as a tool to make more fiat. And as a well-known rogue so poetically put it, cryptocurrency is the golden key to unlock your cage of financial slavery, and you guys are using it to scratch your asses by exchanging it on financial exchanges. It is not a market, it is a reality. So if you want to safeguard your capital and experience financial independence from this current system, you have to start looking at cryptocurrency as the instrument of freedom that it is inherently designed to be. All right, and you have to start using it and investing in it from that standpoint. Since cryptocurrency is still in its infancy and we have not yet perfected a large-scale system that allows for true privacy and decentralization and permissionlessness, censorship resistance, all that stuff at every stage of the game, it's important to use and invest cryptocurrencies that show that they are married to crypto's values and not just the growth of their coin or things like that. In a transparent way. Just how Bitcoin still needed and needs to evolve if it were ever or is ever to become the privacy safeguarding, permissionless, trustless coin that it's set out to be. When you invest in cryptocurrencies, leave room for evolution and watch how blockchains solve problems to things like scaling and artificial intelligence, as well as how they break away from centralized components to transactions in order to reach crypto's goals. Not everybody who starts out on this journey will go forward, and not everybody wants to. All right, and while diversifying your crypto portfolio to make more fiat is not discouraged, all right, do your thing. When it comes to unlocking crypto's true value and gaining financial freedom, you must always be willing, ready, and able to look beyond networks who put the growth of their coin above crypto's principles. All right, and lend your financial support to those in the community who have networks that show an equal commitment and dedication to crypto's values and decentralization and privacy and things like that. For on a global level, and for many of us on a personal level, freedom will always be in demand. And when you invest in crypto in that way, you're investing in the supply. All right? Thanks for watching. Thanks to the new subscribers. And remember, until next time, this is the Oracle from the blockchain reminding you to eat a cookie.